When I was a kid, I had a ton of Hot Wheels. I mean, more than I could count. However, I couldn't play with all of them at once. My parents developed this idea where I had to trade some in to get other ones out. They had a box that they kept in a closet that I couldn't reach. And well, it always left me wanting all of them at once. And so as an adult, I still want all of them at once. So I bought another car, of course. Why would I? Anyway, it's an 86 Porsche 928, 5-speed manual, of course. It's the only way I'd buy one. Car's got a few cool things about it. It's turbocharged, has an old Mark Robinson turbo kit on it. Couple not so cool things about it. It's gutted. Somebody decided to turn it to a race car, but it doesn't have a cage. And it needs a ton of work, because why would I buy a car that didn't need any work? The 928 has always been a bucket list car for me, but as of late the prices have gone up significantly, so I assume that my chances of finding a manual 4-cam version of one of these cars was pretty much nil. And then this shows up like an hour away from my house. So like any irrational person with 10 other project cars, I went and looked at it. And then I bought it because the 19-year-old in me decided I had to have it, so I bought it. Unfortunately, the story I got with this car isn't so pleasant. The guy that assembled this car or built this car is no longer with us, and the person I bought this car from bought it from the widow. So there's really no answers to the million questions I have as to the history of this car. And I'm sure there is quite the history, because the turbo kit this car has, it's a Mark Robinson kit. There's not that many of them out there, so someone has to know something. So if you're one of those people, and believe me, I've searched Renlist and the Pelican forums, and I've Googled everything, it would be amazing if you know any details. I'd love to put this puzzle back together. But enough of me blabbering about why I bought this car. Just listen to it. So I know you're looking for turbos, but there aren't any here. They're actually under the back of the car. This car has a mid-mount turbo kit. This is the charge piping coming from the turbo. It goes under the radiator to the front mount, and then comes up between the fan and the timing covers, and then goes around the intake manifold into the throttle body. There's a lot of things about the way this car is assembled that I do not like. The most obvious is the sheer volume of worm clamps. Now, worm clamps have their place in the world, and that is not on intercooler piping. Damn it. Anyway, there's also has stuff like, this is crankcase ventilation. I don't know why you'd have a T there. The hose is split. This clamp is loose. This is just hanging out here. I don't really know why. That vacuum line wasn't really on there very well. That's not even the right size. And then it has a eBay cheap blow-off valve, kind of sandwiched around this elbow that goes into the throttle body. It's very poorly done, and I don't think that's how this car was originally. I don't know how that happened somewhere along this car's ownership, but I have all of that to straighten out. I also have no record of a timing belt service, which is no small feat on these cars, so that's kind of top priority at this point. It also has a fuel leak, and it had a massive oil leak when I first got it running. I'll show you a picture. Someone glued a penny over an inspection plate that had been drilled out improperly, and I know it was a cheap fix. I mean, it only cost them a penny, but come on. Anyway, I welded that up, fixed that already. It has a cheap FMU on it. As far as the engine management, it has 20-pound injectors, which are way too small in my opinion. It has an adjustable fuel pressure regulator and an FMU. This car may have, and I haven't found it yet, a piggyback to control the timing, but I haven't found it yet, so I don't really know. But anyway, I'm going to show you how the turbo setup is underneath the back. So for those unfamiliar with the 928, these cars have a transaxle instead of a transmission. So the transmission is technically in the back. So you can see the Y from the exhaust runs straight into the turbo, and then out of the turbo to the muffler. There's also an external wastegate buried up there. I think it's a tile 44. And then the intake is tucked up underneath the back, underneath the differential. And then you have a scavenge pump with lines that are probably leaking. Oh, yep, that one's leaking. It's pretty cool, but also more worm clamps. Why do you people do this to me? This is like my nightmare, but it's cool. It's like a cool nightmare if such a thing exists. So the intake tract is a little easier to see from the passenger side. You can see the airflow meter has been relocated. This is a draw through, not a blow through. Currently, I may change that in the future. And then you've got your charge piping that runs about 4 feet under the car, and then behind the passenger side cylinder head. On to the interior, which there isn't much of. But before we get to that, those are not correct. This is not an S4. That's an 87 up. And whoever put those on, that's a up badge shaming right there. I hate you. Anyway, the dash is really nice. It's got a leather wrap dash. It has what I believe to be an authentic Momo steering wheel, which is going to go because it still feels really flimsy. And it has these Momo fixed position racing seats, which those are going to go. They're just not my cup of tea. And then the car needs an entire rear interior. There's like nothing back there that I want to keep. It did come with a whole bunch of extra parts, which I don't know if those will be useful. I think I did see some brand new window switches, so that's kind of cool. But it has an old school boost gauge and a narrow band oxygen sensor gauge. I don't really know what to call those anymore. We use wide bands now. So that's going to be another priority, is getting a wide band in this car so I can see how ridiculously lean this thing is and what I can do about it. So now everyone is wondering, have I driven it? Well, yes, I have. It doesn't really like boost. It runs ridiculously lean. I can't really get in it too hard, but it does run and drive. It is a ton of fun. The dogleg is something to get used to, but I really like it. Anyway, here's a couple short clips. I don't have a lot of footage driving this car, but there will be more in the future. So great. I gotta fix that compressor surge. It's not good. Like I said, I got a lot of things to work on this car, but man, it is fun. So now what am I gonna do with this thing? What are your plans? Well, first things first, I cannot stand the wheels on this car. The rears look okay because they have a massive dish, but the offset of the front wheels just hurts my brain. I cannot look at it any longer than I have to. And the tires are older than the Declaration of Independence, so that's all gone. I gotta find something else. I have no idea what I'm gonna do there. I'm also gonna put a full interior in it because, well, I'm not 19 years old anymore, even though that guy did make me buy this car. And then I'm pretty much going to sort everything else that it needs. I'm going to see how much power I can get out of it. I did find a post somewhat mentioning this car I think on Pelican Forum, where it made 440 wheel horsepower. I have no idea whether that's this car or another car, but there are very few turbo 928s out there, so I have no idea. But anyway, I'm going to post updates on this car, some of the things I've done to it, some of the more ridiculous things I discover, which, well, I hope that list ends at some point, but I have a feeling that, well, at least the car's not that big, right? All the problems are from here to here, so none of the problems can exist outside of that. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hopefully you want to keep track of the updates on this car. I'll try to make posts in my spare time, and I got to finish that Laguna car, and yeah, I got a couple projects. It's normal, it's fine. Talk to you guys later.